We're just going to get started with the town hall for March with an ISP focus for today. Thank you for joining us for this town hall. I'm just going to jump right into it. You're going to have me, Patrick Redmond, the Deputy Director, driving the bus today. And I would like to just start with some quick state of the office updates as far as our hiring practices are concerned. We're very excited to have Ben Schwake join us next week as our broadband policy analyst to flesh out our policy team, which is going to be fantastic to have another hand on deck, especially during the end of session and while we're heading into the challenge process. It's going to be fantastic. We're also going to be hiring for a grant analyst and budget and finance manager to round out the rest of our team. We are still kicking around an additional position that we may or may not be posting, so keep your eyes out for that. But if you know anyone that has any accounting or financial background, please direct them towards the office. We're more than happy to interview for those positions. So we'll be looking for those applications fairly soon. And then a quick digital equity update. We've gotten quite a few questions in the past about what's going on with the digital equity program. When are we going to be posting the plan? What plan are we working with? Things like that. And I do just want to say for our benefit, we are coordinating with the OCIO and the NITC, who used to hold the digital equity program over there on their website in their agency. However, now we are taking that on, helmed by Diane Lowe, who is on today's call. So if you get any questions I can't answer about digital equity, I will just hand that off to her. But we will be handling that. We have turned in our cured digital equity plan. We had one deficiency, and deficiency means basically there's like a typo, or we just didn't include this one piece that NTIA really wanted, which was fantastic. To put that in perspective, our volumes of the initial proposal, as well as the 5-year action plan, all had at least double-digit deficiencies within them. So it just goes to show the good work that Diane Lowe had done for the plan, and also the legwork that Ann Byers had did prior to her retirement. So a lot of those materials that Ann used to be posting will be helmed on our website, and we'll continue to update that. We're waiting to post things until after we get NTA approving our plan, as well as we see that NTA NOFO, which we've been informed will be coming at the end of the month or early April. So it could be coming around there, or they could be delaying it just a little bit. We haven't seen it yet, but we are eager to see exactly what is in that, what we can and cannot spend our dollars on, and exactly how much we're going to get as well. Right now, we're just operating off estimates of $7, $8, $9 million or so. And those are just complete guesses that we came up with about a year ago. So not holding to those numbers by any stretch of the imagination. Moving on, last month we did attend the SBLN conference in Philadelphia, I believe, if I'm not mistaken on that. I'm getting a nod from Trevi, which means I'm on the right track. Thank you, Trevi. But yeah, so we attended that. We sent Trevi and Shandana and our director, Patrick Haggerty, to that meeting. We were able to connect with other states. We built a lot of really good relationships, I think, with other states such as like Maine, Texas, Louisiana, things of that nature. We learned a lot while we were there. There's a lot of talk of the BABA restriction requirements, more guidance to follow on that from NTIA specifically. But what I think was our big takeaway from that meeting was how much the tone has shifted in the last 6 or so months, I would say, and the approach that a lot of states and NTIA, broadly speaking, are taking to this program. I think that they're a lot more understanding of the need to have the ISP community participate and to come up with programs that will allow for that participation, or at least encourage that participation from a wide variety of sources. One thing that we've been well aware of, thanks to the leadership of our director, is that if there's no provider participation, then there's no build out at all. So we need to walk a fine line between holding ISPs accountable and making sure that they're doing their jobs, but also not applying a chilling effect that is going to restrict them from being even interested in applying for the program. And I think we've done a pretty good job so far of that with our communication and the way that we've drafted our plans. We've taken into account a lot of ISP-focused feedback as well as community-focused feedback, just to make sure we're balancing everyone's different opinions and we're being as fair as possible. So if you disagree, please let us know. We're always willing to hear other opinions and ways that we can do our jobs better. We're very, very open about that. But generally speaking, I think that we had a really great group there, and I've heard very positive things come out of that meeting. So I think that we'll be expecting further SBLN conferences to be fairly similar as we send more of our members to them. So just to continue along the lines of the legislation for the state of the office. Now, there is a little bit of a mistake I'm noticing right now because recently LB 61 actually did pass and is headed to the governor's desk. I'm not aware of any signature yet on that. But I do just want to make sure I note that correction verbally. We also did had a unanimous confirmation of Director Haggerty, which is fantastic. I'm probably the happiest person in the office that has happened. So we're absolutely thrilled that took place, and the fact that it is unanimous kind of shows how much the legislature understands Director Haggerty's experience and how much value that's brought to the office, which is fantastic. We've also been tracking LB 1336 and LB 1389, two other bills that tangentially deal with either the office or BEAD. So far, they're in committee, and based on the trajectory of the legislature and how little time they have left, we're not necessarily expecting them to move outside of committee. But we are still tracking them because the legislature does have a habit of bringing back bills the following years if they did not pass, particularly if they're hot button issues such as broadband. One big thing that we're very proud of here in the Nebraska Broadband Office is the fact that we're #2 in the nation. We're tied for #2 in the nation, but we still will like to say that we're #2 in the nation as far as the BEAD milestones are concerned. So there's 10 milestones that we all have to achieve. We are currently 9 out of 10. The last remaining one is to have our volume 2 approved. We have submitted it for curing as of a week or so ago, and we hope to hear back about those deficiencies that I had mentioned earlier and how those were addressed. So it's an ongoing conversation. We will be posting the updated volume 2 on our website next to the updated volume 1 once NTA approves it. But it is a nice thing to just say that we've gone from low 20s where we started in the summer when we were working on the 5-year action plan to now #2 in the nation. And we are a fairly small office from a fairly small state. And we're competing with the big boys such as Texas, California, Louisiana, Virginia, who have massive offices or massive states of, a lot of different support from a lot of different agencies. And the fact that we're able to do this with a team of, 6, 7 people, I think goes to show the excellence of the team, I think. So moving on, I do want to touch on the new eligible BEAD numbers. So basically within the program, as you all are aware, our mandate is to serve the unserved locations first, then the underserved, and then targeting community anchor institutions. However, we do run a deduplication process because we don't want tax dollars to be levied to the same location multiple times. So we've gone through that with a couple different programs, specifically the EACAM program, which my next slide will be covering in a little bit more detail. But what that's done is, since the fall, when we first started running these numbers based on some estimates, we were looking at, roughly about 80,000 locations that would be considered BEAD eligible. And now what we're looking at is a fraction of that at about 25,000 locations that are BEAD eligible, split between unserved and underserved, of course, which just goes to show that, all these different programs running in tandem, once we're able to get the breadth and width of them, it really shows where the funds are going, the fact that the provider community are building out in these areas, and that we just need to be aware of exactly what is going on the ground and, to make sure that we are deploying our dollars in the most responsible way possible. And I think this will bring us, some optimism, I think, because initially when we're looking at those numbers of 50,000 different locations that are unserved, we're like, oh gosh, $405 million. Don't know if that's going to be able to actually target all of these because we have locations that, could cost upwards of $40,000, $50,000 per passing to be able to hit. So kind of was stretching our dollars. But now when we're looking at a 25,000 figure for both unserved and underserved, we're a little bit more optimistic about being able to target those locations. So it's all good news. And just to explain that, I'm a visual person, so I like to have a visualization of what's going on. This is a layer on our broadband map that's on our website right now. So that big kind of indigo, bluish purple splotch that's all across the map, that is the EACAM, called Enhanced ACAM program, where basically a bunch of companies that already had ACAM funding raised their hand and said, hey, we want to raise this to the BEAD values of 100 by 20. Previously, some of the other guidance was around 25 by 3 for service levels. And this just goes to show, when I'm talking about these numbers changing from 80 to 25,000, this is why. I mean, we're seeing a huge swath of the state being covered by these programs. And this is fantastic to be able to see. It's fantastic to see about 30% of our locations were covered with just this one program, which I think has helped out tremendously in actually being able to reach all Nebraskans across the state and we're very optimistic moving forward. Now, I've gotten a question in the past about, oh, well, what happens if they, default or they don't fall through with the program? I mean, with the BEAD program, we are holding their feet to the fire with the BEAD stuff. Anything else, Bridge, NUSF, EACAM, those are maintained by other agencies. So there'd be the responsibility of those agencies to ensure that those commitments are fulfilled. So just want to head that off since I've gotten that question before. And then moving on, I've teased a couple different of these items here when we're talking about IPv1, IPv2, and the challenge period. Starting from left to right, IPv1, we've already gotten written approval on. That's what allowed us to begin the challenge process. So that was part of the delay that we had, where we were delayed from, I think it was January 2nd was our first target date, but we hadn't gotten approved from our submission on like October 30th or something like that. So just put that in perspective, how long some of this curing process can take, depending on how sharp the pencils are over at NTIA. Moving into volume 2, we're still in the curing period. So just put that in perspective again, October to basically late February was how long volume 1 took, and that was 18 pages. Volume 2 is over 100. So, curing could take longer. We don't exactly know, but we will keep everyone appraised here in the town hall as developments continue to be experienced on volume 2. Once volume 2 does get approved, that does start our 365-day clock for our final proposal. That means that 365 days following written approval of volume 2, all of our funding has to be obligated and granted out through our granting process. So once that gets announced, the clock is ticking, and that we're looking towards that end date for our funding to be obligated. The challenge period did start on March 15th, so we're knee deep in that right now. We're about almost done with the first week. We've gotten about 265 plus challenges. Last I checked, that was the figure, but I'm sure it's gone up. We also did experience a surge in people visiting our map, which kind of surprised the servers a little bit. So we were able to handle that, though, and we've since informed our tech team that, hey, maybe people are a little bit more interested than we had initially thought, which is fantastic. When we're seeing significantly more people, I think we saw an order of magnitude or more of visitors following our press release and our radio ad buy, which is fantastic to see the engagement in the community. I mean, it just makes us feel like we're actually having an impact and making the world better, a little bit better for Nebraskans, which is kind of our goal here. So fantastic work so far in the challenge process. A lot of that's being helmed by Trevi and Rachel, who are here on this call today. So thank you guys so much for bearing the brunt of that and dealing with the adjudication process. Moving on, looking a little bit forward into the future, we're targeting summer for our LOI process. That has to follow after the 60-day cooling off period of our challenge process. So don't expect it to be happening right away. We do want to make sure that we're putting forth, again, the best product possible when it comes to the LOI process. That's one of the things that was going on with the challenge process. We wanted to make sure that the tool was going to be the best it could be, understanding, of course, limitations within our vendor and system itself. So that's kind of our approach with a lot of these different items, is we're a little bit more comfortable delaying maybe a couple of weeks just to make sure that the products are good and that we head off any confusion before it happens. Then our applications, we're still currently targeting early fall. Now, again, some of these dates may change depending on the challenge process and how that goes, but just know that that's currently our targets, and we are looking to obligate our funds towards the end of the year. With that said, that forward-thinking, piece taken care of, I would like to just move on to questions and answers. If you have any, you can either type them up in the chat or you can ask them verbally. I'm comfortable with both. Beverly, do you have a question? Your mic is on. Just want to make sure.
No, I'm going to turn it off.
Perfect. No worries. Just wanted to make sure in case I, wasn't coming through on my end. So, any questions in the chat, Trevi? Okay. Well,
I do have a question, but I have a customer in my office right now. I'm sorry, I can't.
No worries.
Speak right now.
Well, it doesn't sound like we're. That aside, it doesn't sound like we're having any questions. So if something does come up after this, feel free to send it to our email, and correct me if I get this wrong, Trevi, but I believe it's ndot.broadbandoffice@nebraska.gov. So we can.
Exactly right.
All right, awesome. I'm doing a good job here then. So if you have a question and it comes up later or something like that, you can of course just send it to us there and we'll get to it as soon as possible. We are building an FAQ right now on our website as we get more and more questions, because we're getting kind of some similar questions. We want to make sure that everyone has access to those answers, not just the ones that ask it. So just be aware of that.
Can I ask a question now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I actually work for a municipality and I'm part of a nonprofit, so I just jumped in today because I missed last week's.
No
But
worries.
did I miss somewhere? How do you is there information somewhere on how to be part of this program? Is there like a way to sign up or get our community on a list, or that's
Right.
how I understand it.
Yeah, so our policy program team, outreach team here, Trevi and Rachel, they've been contacting different communities across the state to try to get them on as what we call advocates. Because in order to participate in the challenge process, you have to be an ISP, a nonprofit organization, or unit of local government, including cities, counties, EDDs, things of that nature. So you obviously fall under one of those categories. And I would definitely recommend reaching out to our email inbox and we can walk you through that steps. I know Rachel has a whole form to kind of fill out. We have to go through the process of getting a CostQuest, I believe it's Tier E license for non-ISPs, which sounds a lot worse than it actually is. And we do have some resources available to help you as you walk through that process, because there's a lot of different types of licenses out there. We just want to make sure that we get the right one, because then we have to turn that around, get you an account set up, and then you can hop right into the portal. And if you know of anyone in your area or anyone that you'd like to represent as an advocate, a challenge or anything like that, then you can go ahead and submit it there. We do encourage that. Also, if you just want to be on our distribution list, and you don't want to be participating in the advocate process, that's also totally fine. Just let us know what your email is and we can add you to that. And then we'll send you some updates from the office as that progresses. Trevi, am I missing anything on that list of ways to get engaged?
That's correct. And I believe Rachel has also put the link to the advocate page on our website in the chat for you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I can't see the chat, so thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate that. But yeah, so those would be some pretty good ways of kind of getting involved in the program and making sure that your community is served as best it can be.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, well, with that, I'm going to give you guys 39 minutes back of your day. I'm just very generous about that. So we'll be meeting again, every single Thursday at this time, running town halls. You may get me, you may not. So just we'll look forward to seeing you all returning, and we'll have a different circuit in April as well. We do different circuits every single month, targeting kind of different topics. So thank you guys so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.